everybody, it is Rachel Rajala, your realtor out of Northern Virginia. Happy New Year! Hi, I hope you all are doing well, and aren't we all excited for a new year? And let's hope and pray that it is much better and brighter than 2020. I hope you all are doing well, staying safe, and I know, as I said, we're all looking forward to what 2021 has to hold and curious about it as well. So I am going to chat a little bit about the real estate market, surprise, surprise, but take a look back at what 2020 brought us, what we predicted it might bring, and what the predictions for 2021 moving forward are. So stick around. There's a lot of great information in here. And as always, any questions, comments, please reach out. I'm always happy to help.
So I just want to dive right in and get started with this. And I want to start out actually with this quote from Showing Time that I think is very relevant to the topic I want to address today, which has a lot to do with market statistics and data. And it says, market data has always been a powerful tool for real estate, but 2020 marked a new high point for how the data was leveraged to encourage informed decisions and help real estate professionals reinforce their status as market experts. And again, that came from Showing Time, Positive Takeaways for a 2020 blog post. And if we think about that statement and everything that happened in 2020, from the pandemic to unrest, things happening across the country, national disasters, I mean, goodness, we saw our share, didn't we? In our business, in the real estate business, market data was really the difference maker. It allowed us to, among all this craziness and all this upheaval and changes, it allowed us to take a look at where the market may be headed and gave us a good solid basis to guide our clients. And I think as we look back at last year in this quote from Showing Time, we can say, okay, how are we going to use this going forward now to help people understand that what may be coming in 2020? And so, you may recall when the pandemic first hit, we were talking about things like appreciation and inventory, equity, all the things that in the real estate market that help counter all the news that was currently out there. And you may remember this slide right here. We talked about the home price changes during the last 5 recessions, how a recession does not necessarily equal a housing crisis. And this is kind of what kicked it all off. Everybody remembers in 2008, where homes lost almost 20% of their value. And yet when we look at these prior recessions, that was not the case at all. And now we have data from 2020, the latest recession. And as you look at this, you see that 4 of the 6 times the home prices actually appreciated during the recessions. And this past year, they appreciated quite a bit at 7.3%. So I think the truth of the story right now as we kick off 2021 and all the things that happened in 2020 is that the appreciation of 7.3% has grown home equity. And that is really what is so important and what has kept things going is the equity people have in their homes right now. And across the country, they have found different ways to use this equity to weather the financial storm that the pandemic may have brought upon them, and to have the ability to go out there and sell their home if they need to and not be underwater or literally have to go into foreclosure or something like that. And so equity, I would say, is really the star of the real estate market in 2020. And I want to pull a quote here from CoreLogic from Dr. Frank Nolhoff. Over the past year, strong home price growth has created a record level of home equity for homeowners. The average family with the home mortgage loan had $194,000 in home equity in the third quarter. So as of the third quarter, previous to that, the number was 177,000. So that's grown to 194 now. And he goes on to say this provides an important buffer to protect families if they experience financial difficulties, and is one of the reasons for the generational low in foreclosure rates. Now, as we know, another reason is also that there's a moratorium right now on foreclosures. So that's keeping them low as well. But this equity, this growing equity has and will continue to help people weather the storm relative to things that they may be experiencing as a fallout of the pandemic and the challenges that it's caused in business and the economy across the country. You know, if we go deeper into this from CoreLogic, 17,000 is the average gain in equity on a mortgage home, and we just talked about the 194,000 being the average of a home with a mortgage on it. And CoreLogic says 38.2% of homes are owned free and clear in this country, and 10.8% is the increase in equity, totally over $1 trillion since the third quarter meaning third quarter 2019 versus 2020. Tremendous growth in home equity. And now that's happening all over the country. It's not just in certain areas. Depending on where you live, my home state here in Virginia has increased an average of 22,000 in home equity, and you see California is at 34,000 on an average in home equity growth. Very important, as people have used this in their lives right now to help weather the storm. And you know, of course, we've been talking a lot about 2008, and a lot of the issues we faced back there was because of the misuse of equity, and we're certainly seeing it different here. The equity is playing a very positive role in this story. And here, Frank Martell, the CEO of CoreLogic, he says this: the housing market has remained a strong pillar in an otherwise tumultuous economic year. A sharp rise in demand spurred by record low interest rates continues to bolster homeowner equity, and many people are now spending more time than ever at home since homeowners have tapped into their strengthening equity to fund renovations. And I know we've been seeing a lot of that, people doing their renovations, whether it's adding a room or a whole addition, whatever it may be. People are certainly feeling a little more confined at home since they are there so much and looking at expanding things. So as we look back at the past year, I think we can safely say home equity has really been like a shining star through it all and has really helped a lot of people. But even as we look forward, the most recent home price expectation survey shows us that over the next 5 years, the average home costing $300,000 today stands to appreciate a little bit over $50,000 in the next 5 years, adding to that equity. And you know, the equity provides opportunities for people, whether it's to start a business, to send a child to school, to fund an idea, to fund a renovation, as we were saying. So I think the idea of home equity is something that, as we look back and we look forward, it's certainly the benefit of home ownership today. And there are, of course, a lot of non-financial benefits of home ownership. But right now in our country and what we're experiencing, this equity has really provided and been that shining star for many people. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that what is on a lot of people's mind now is, what is 2020 going to bring, or 2021, excuse me, going to bring? And I want to take a little look at that. You know, it may be for a lot of people a little blurry right now, wondering, okay, we don't know what's going to happen in the coming year. And if 2020 taught us anything, it is just that. We don't know what is around the next corner often. But of course, we can do our best to look at past data and statistics and learn from that and move forward. So there's a lot of things that are going to be dependent, of course. One of them being the coronavirus vaccinations and all these things that are going to contribute to the path forward. And I want to help make that path a little clearer for those that are interested in getting into real estate potentially, and any of the needs that clients may have, to take a look at what the experts are saying about all this. And I have a quote here from Dave Mealy: "The surge of the work from home population has rewritten the playbook for many home buyers and rental decisions, from when and where to relocate to what people are looking for in their next residence." And we certainly know that is true. We've been in our homes a lot, and we know what we like and we know what we don't like by now. And so folks that are working from home, they may not have to go into the office every day. Some folks may have to go in a few days a week. There's still a lot of questions about if that's going to continue, how all that's going to play out this year. But this whole surge is really changing the way people make decisions about where they live. And I think that we can expect in 2021 for it to become more clear for people where they want to be, and where they can be, and whether they are going to make a move or not. Mark Fleming, the chief economist at First American, says, "Despite the best intentions of home builders to provide more housing supply, the big short in the housing supply will continue into 2021 and likely keep the house price appreciation flying high." So we know builders are building, and the builder confidence is growing. Things are being built around the country, and we're definitely going to see more new homes hitting the market, which is very much needed. And all that's going to bring more inventory back in the market. But the challenges in the inventory certainly are in the first half of the year, is that it's expected to remain very similar to last 2020 and have extremely low inventory, and of course those low rates encouraging the buyers to want to move forward. So that supply and demand is going to continue across the country and keep that pressure on the home prices and continuing them up a bit. As you know, 2021 home price forecast, as we see here, is anywhere from 2 to 6% from NAR to MBA and everything in between. So if we kind of take off the ends and say maybe we'll see an average of 3 to 4% price appreciation in homes. And now what that does is, we just talked about CoreLogix said that homes appreciated 7.3% this past year, and they're calling for a little bit less appreciation in 2021. Not depreciation, but less appreciation. And I think that's very important to remember, that the prices are not expected to fall drastically, and not expected to fall at all, quite honestly, this year. So really, it's given a sign to more inventory coming on the market, whether that comes from the builders, people putting their homes on the market that didn't last year. We'll talk about that some in a minute. And those affected by the pandemic that may need to sell their house, but more inventory is going to come back into the market and help keep in check that home appreciation that is going on quite rapidly right now. And as we get more information, of course, I will keep you updated on this. But I think suffice it to say, we are going into 2021 with healthy expectations for home price appreciation as we move forward. And I just mentioned the second half of the year. And Realtor.com came out and said this, and they said the bright spot for buyers is that more homes are likely to become available in the last 6 months of 2021. And that should give folks more options to choose from and take away some of the urgency. With a larger selection, buyers may not be forced to have to make a decision in mere hours and will have more time to make up their minds, which I'm sure a lot of buyers out there would greatly appreciate. And so as we go through the year, expect more inventory to go on the market in the second half of the year as opposed to the first. And again, that's because we'll have more homes ready from the builders, and also things like involving the pandemic. Maybe people will be more comfortable going out. Hopefully, we'll have a virus or a vaccine in place, and all this making people feel like they're ready to go out and list their home for sale and do more things like that maybe they were holding back on before. And so if we think about it, there is a bright spot. The bright spot that Realtor.com is talking about is the second half of the year being stronger than the first half. And now that's a lot going to depend ultimately on the economic recovery, of course. And I think that's a question on a lot of people's minds. And I've certainly heard the comparison of this time in our economy being compared to the Great Recession or the Great Depression, and even people saying that it's going to be worse than both of those. And here I have an update of this slide here, which shows the actual in yellow, our extreme drop down to almost 15% there, which was quite drastic. But as you see, it was a very short time period. And I don't want to minimize those that were affected by that, but nowhere near the length of unemployment, but a lot of depth there. And we see the V recovery that's happening. And according to the Wall Street Journal and the Feds, we're both of these right here, we should be somewhere between 3 to 5 years before we're back to where we were prior to the pandemic. And you see here, from current through 2023, it'll decrease slowly as time goes on. But doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people that need to get back to work, and we want everybody to do that. That is not currently working. We want them to have jobs. And where we stand today at 6.7% unemployment in this country, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's certainly not as high as that 15% like we experienced in the middle of last year. And hopefully things continue to drop off there. And another thing that I think is important to mention and keep in mind is that renters are disproportionately hurt by the crisis. Let's remember that as we go through the year, a greater share of renters lost their jobs. So that means using savings that could have been used for a down payment, falling behind on bills, which will hurt their credit and make it more difficult for them to be future homeowners. And certainly something we want to be mindful of as we go into talking about and thinking about people that are renting and want to buy a home and how this has affected them, and certain messages that we need to get out there, like you don't need 20% to buy a home. That's a common misconception that I hear often. So hopefully as they get their jobs back and are able to recover some more, they will be back on track as well if they were intending on becoming a homeowner. And another question is something that I've stayed on top of, kind of the foreclosures and the forbearance and how that's going to affect us, and are we going to get hit with this flood of foreclosures, which we have not yet, and it's not really projected that we will. As you see this chart here, this survey, they came out and they asked, what percentage of these 2.7 million homeowners do you estimate will? And 58% said they'll resume their mortgage payments and stay in their home at least 1 year after the forbearance. 24% are expected to list their homes within a year of exiting forbearance, and 18% receive a foreclosure notice within 1 year. So the overwhelming majority are going to continue on and will be in their homes and largely unaffected. And these are definitely some big numbers we're looking at here. But again, it's going to keep moving us along as we're talking about the time frame in which the forbearances are coming up. And again, 18% will probably receive a foreclosure notice and when exiting forbearance. So what about those rates, huh? Now, Treasury rates have really been moving up since the election, but the mortgage rates, as you know, have kept going down. And we're starting to see mortgage rates drift up with the Treasury rates as opposed to moving in the opposite direction. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to forecast mortgages or anything for that matter. I'm just relaying some statistics and data to hopefully give you a good idea of our real estate market and what is going to happen. So I think that as we look into the year and we look at 2022 even, we say, okay, what's going to happen there? They're calling for home price appreciation, certainly from the experts. The experts are saying the mortgage rates are going to rise too. And I think from what we see and what the experts are telling us is that we'll be in a pretty good mortgage environment, but they are going to rise. And as you see here, this is a calculation based on where the interest rates are today at about 2.7. So for a $300,000 mortgage, as an example, a 30-year fixed, 2.7%, that principal and interest payment is going to be just over $1,216. Jumping forward to the fourth quarter of 2021, if we have interest rates around the 3.4%, the mortgage would be higher as well if we are looking at that percentage of increase in prices along with the interest rate. And that's going to put you at principal and interest of $1,406. So that's almost a $200 difference per month in payments. And it's kind of a shock when people see that. It's just how much the rates and can affect or will affect your payments. So, you know, most experts would say, what's driven home ownership in 2020? Well, needs have changed, certainly. And but it's really the low rates that have really been driving things. And as we look forward, we're not going to see that those low rates hang around forever. And I'm not saying this scenario is really going to happen, but it certainly could happen. And I think that's why there's such a value right now in home ownership and why equity has meant so much to people over this last year, because people that buy their home this year, as we talked about, that home appreciation could be up close to around $50,000 on an average $300,000 home in the next 5 years. But it also, as we go forward, the affordability will be an issue as the rates start to rise. So I think that's where you're going to see the slower price appreciation and level out a little bit more. Of course, when I say mortgage rates are going up there, 3.4 is still historically low, but when you come out of a 2.7, it sounds a little worse. So I am going to wrap this up with one last quote, and I think it kind of underscores what this has all been about. And it says, "I do believe that the American dream of homeownership is very strong. It's very much alive from all of the survey data I've seen. And if you're not a homeowner and you want to be one in the future, whether it's a short-term or long-term goal." And that's from Jessica at NAR. So, homeownership, no doubt, has made a difference in the past year and certainly is going to continue to do so moving forward. So we certainly covered a good bit of information there, but I hope it really answers some questions and gives you a little bit of insight on what we might see this year as far as real estate. And of course, everyone's situation is unique, so reach out to me. Let's chat about what your goals and plans and dreams are, and see how I can help get you there or direct you to people that can. I'm here as a resource, so please, let's connect, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you enjoy these little videos and market updates and all things real estate, please don't forget, subscribe to my channel, and you will get notices when I have new videos for you. So take care, everyone, and let's make 2021 a great one. Bye.